Good evening, everybody. I'm Johnneil Ervin. I'm with Ervin Networks. We are a network and information security firm here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's one of the guys I work with, Cornel Welch there. We have two systems engineers and one sales engineer. They're not able to be here because they're out doing stuff. So this was, I know it was last minute, and we did put something together for network monitoring because we felt like a lot of the companies these days really fail to properly monitor their networks. So, I'm going to get started. So we went through a bunch of information to put together slides and put together something to present to you, something that could be informational, something you can take away. If you already know it, know some of the stuff, then we try to put as much into it as we can to help everybody. So what is network monitoring? We like to think of it as a more proactive approach to ensure consistent availability to corporate IT resources. Last thing you need is to walk through the door first thing in the morning and get cross-examined by one of your bosses or somebody why the network is down. As soon as you walk in, everything's blowing up. That's the answer we would give to each other, systems engineers, maybe a network manager, but to a CFO, CIO, or CISO, or ISO, this would be something that they would be looking for when you ask the question, what is network monitoring? For a corporate network, there's a critical IT function that can save money and network performance, employee productivity, and infrastructure cost overruns. The network monitoring system monitors internal networks for problems. It can find and help resolve snail-paced web page downloads, lost in space emails, questionable user activity, and file delivery caused by overloaded crash servers or dicey network connections. This is something that an executive would be looking for, honestly. They want to know what is it going to do for their environment, what's it going to cost, what's it going to save. Will they need any staff augmentation or anything like that? Why is it important? Now, if you have any questions or you want me to stop, just let me know and I'll go ahead and stop because I'm just reading from this. I found this quote somewhere. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but I've been a lot of places that this was pretty much how it was done. I mean, honestly, if it were up and running, I hear some laughs. I know more of you have seen it work like this. I know you have. If it's up and running, why mess with it? There's no reason to look at it or mess with it. And a lot of C-level managers and places, they will say, don't worry about it. It's running fine. There's no need to look at it or mess with it. And then, why should you care about adding another project? Project from your network manager. They have the whiteboards from top to bottom where they draw out the network everywhere for a new project and everything. Who's looking at what the capacity is? Who's looking at that? Already crammed floor to ceiling, the whiteboards. The reason to insist on network monitoring can be summarized on a high level into maintaining the network's current health, ensuring availability, and improving performance. An NMS can also help you build a database of critical information that you can use to plan for future growth. I mean, that top one, it's one of those things where when you walk into work and you get all these projects just dumped on your desk. If you're the network guy or the network admin, then you're like, okay, how is this going to fit? How is this going to work? We have a switch that's overloaded here. We have a VMware environment we don't have any space in. If they don't have that data or anything, they can't make a good decision. It's hard for them to truly make a educated decision on, will this project work for right now? Can we do it? What questions can the network monitoring system or solution answer? Well, an NMS will map your network topology. For instance, it's up to managers. Any managers in here? Network managers? Nobody? Good. To examine and decide the fate of each piece of the topology. A comprehensive monitoring report will help you answer tough questions. I'm not the greatest of presenters. I'm truly an IT guy. But I know for a fact that having something that you can, if they bring the project to you, that you can say, okay, we can only put 4 more VMs right here. We can only put 4 more servers on this switch, or we're at capacity. This link is being saturated. That's something that everybody needs. That's something, if you're going to move ahead in a corporate IT environment, you have to have that. Simplicity in the form of homogeneous systems can deliver savings, but can segments be replaced at an acceptable cost? That's what network monitoring does for you, you know. It allows you to answer that question. Which operating systems and apps are on which servers, and are they necessary? Who are the power users, and what are they sending? How close to capacity are servers? How many of you can say right now definitively that you know exactly how close you are capacity of server, what capacity you are on your servers? Anybody? You can? Anybody else? You can? Nobody else? I mean, but that's something, you know what I'm saying. That's something that it's really hard to get from a lot of companies because they don't know, but they keep sending out projects, and everybody has a project that they want done. What remote devices are being used, and what are they being used for? How and where are remote devices entering the system? Who and what resources are managing the system? I mean, a good network monitoring platform will assist you in answering all these questions, honestly. And with this, you know, capacity planning. And a lot of executives are really concerned, and they should be, concerned with capacity planning. This will help you generate the data to help them answer these questions and help fund the projects. What questions can network monitoring answer? This last one, I forgot this one. Of course, stocked with information and clean status reports. A budget-pressured exec might conclude that no problems mean no reason to change things. That's usually the wrong conclusion because businesses don't exist in a steady state. Everything's always changing, you know. That's another reason to have one. You know, I grabbed this information, we pulled it together from different resources, different people, different experiences. And this one was always something that stood out because all the information provided to a lot of executives and a lot of managers, you know, they didn't see any reason to do anything else. We got everything we need. We don't need to plan for anything else. What can network monitoring do for me or you? Careful network monitoring gives executives all the ammo they need to justify network upgrades and expansions in order to support new corporate goals or to call a vendor out on something. Case in point, we had a firm. Was it Windstream? McClure. It was a CPA firm that we had. Nice operation, and we're monitoring their stuff. And they had some issues with their internet links, but Windstream kept saying it was their firewall, it was their router. They couldn't see anything wrong on their side. But when we provided them with the reports from the monitoring showing where it was dropping and how often it dropped, and at times it dropped when they said they didn't see anything drop. When we provided them with a report, or the customer provided them with a report, then they were able to go back to them with something and say, look, this is what my monitoring system says. These are the times and dates that it said it dropped. Why don't you just look at it and see what you can compare, you know. And once they did that, they ended up, they got a refund back on that one. So, I mean, that's just one example. It's good for you. We can call out a vendor. Service level agreements too often are hard to enforce on the part of the client companies because execs, managers, and engineers only have murky insight into conditions governed by an SLA. An effective NMS system will tell managers in clear terms if a given device, service, or application is meeting contractually mandated performance levels. I mean, a lot of people out there have SLAs for a lot of applications and things, but they really don't have any way to prove or rebut what the customer is saying, hey, it's been down for 5 minutes. Well, the monitoring system, you can do that with a good monitoring system. What strategic tasks can network monitoring systems do? Does anybody in here use HP OpenView? Anybody? What do you use? If you don't mind me asking. Yeah.
We use
SolarWinds. And that has an SLA module built into it as well. So that's, if you don't have, I say this because I work with somebody every day that always wanted an answer for something that we couldn't get an answer for because we didn't have the data. We weren't monitoring anything. So that's awesome. So what strategic tasks can network monitoring systems do? A network monitoring system will help make sense of complex environments, issuing reports that managers use to confirm regulatory and policy compliance, PCI, SOX, GLB, highlight potential cost savings by finding redundant resources, for example, solve efficiency, sapping mysteries like drop mail sessions or something that's just sucking the bandwidth on your network. You don't know what's going on. Help determine employee productivity, some of them. Spot overloaded equipment before it can bring your network down. Identify weak, wide area network links and other bottlenecks. Measure latency or the delayed transfer of data. Find anomalous I hate that word, by the way. I can never say that word. Internal traffic that might be indicated by a security threat. I mean, I know this stuff is dry. I know it is. But at the end of the day, it's something that's needed. I mean, on a good corporate IT network. Like PCI DSS 2.0. Anybody here have to adhere to PCI DSS? Anybody? You do? So you do all the SAQs and all that stuff, the segmentation and all those things. What's number 10 on the PCI requirements? It's network monitoring and management. You have to have it. I mean, as dry as it is, nobody wants to hear it all the time. It's really dry material, but it serves a purpose. You know, it serves a good purpose. And I think it says you have to monitor all all data coming in and out of your network that has to do with PCI. Every last bit of it. But it's still not an IDS. It's not. It's never going to be an IDS. It's not an IPS. Those critical systems detect break-ins and prevent unauthorized activity. That's what they do. This will aid in that. An NMS can detect troublesome actions, but that is not its mission. I mean, you can't. It's not one of those fire and forget solutions. You got to constantly monitor it and get reports from it so you can constantly see the health of your network. That's the only way you're going to improve anything on your network. There's really, they say there's some best practices. Anybody ever in here heard of a good best practices for network monitoring? Have you ever heard of one for it? It's really, you know, it's kind of you build it and you try to do what's best for you. So we have come up with some that we think might be good. It's not necessarily a best practices standard. The biggest problem I see today is management techniques and tools that, grew up in the client-server age. They quite haven't evolved today's realities, right? They just don't fit that old way of doing it. You got Web 2.0 and all these other things and apps that need to be monitored, and they're bandwidth-hungry apps. So in the old world, back in the day, I mean, you owned and controlled most of that stuff as the network admin. As the server admin, network admin, you controlled a lot of that stuff. You did the patching, you still do the patching, but you control everything. And everything that your key applications depended on. You could predict where the traffic was going. You had a lot of freedom there to say, traffic is going to go here or there. But complex, long deployment, agent-based systems were approved for deployment because of the problems client servers created were new, they were acute and just scary. So you had the agent-based era. You put an agent on and give you everything. These days, you hardly ever need an agent for anything. You really don't need an agent. You use SNMP, V3, V2C, V1, WMI query, something like that. You dealt with a dog's breakfast of vendor-specific protocols. I mean, it was just so many things in that. But today, you don't own anything, really. You have your own network, but if you go into the cloud, you don't own anything in the cloud. Your data's up there, but you don't own the network. You depend on networks. You do not own or control ISP, ASP, customer, supplier. You can't predict where tomorrow's traffic is going to flow or what will break next. There's no way for you to predict that on that side. There's no way. There's less or no time and money for deployment or maintenance of big, complex network management systems. I mean, the way it's going, it's just not the time. There's no time or money. I mean, you put your data up there in the cloud somewhere, and if they have an outage on their end, then they have an outage on their end, and you don't control that. If they change a route somewhere, they change a route, and you're done. You don't control that. IP is everywhere thing, So I guess that's to say, what should best practices look like? How do you help yourself? How do you get some control back over your data, your network, and a lot of these other things? You have to be able to see from end to end. I'm sure some people have seen network monitoring systems that monitor one part, and the other part's not really that monitored. They have they're ping here and there or ping or here. You really don't get an end-to-end solution. You really don't. You have to be able to deploy just-in-time network management infrastructure rapidly where needed, when needed, and on demand. I mean, if you need to monitor over in a segment that's typically not monitored, then you need to go over there and monitor that segment when management asks you to, and you need to be able to do it quick. There may be some regulatory requirement if you're in some bank or energy firm or something like that you need to go and deploy something over there to capture that data and look at that data. Be able to see into and through networks that you don't own. Employ monitoring techniques that provide through network awareness on an ongoing basis. That's a typo. Not piecemeal views, not segmented views. How many places have you worked in that they have a system here, but you can't see what's over there, but you can see here, but this is down, it's been down for a day or a couple of hours, but you don't know that because you're only monitoring over here. It's kind of pieced out. Rely less on trend analysis and more on real-time assessments. The way data is flowing these days, the way a lot of these applications are running, you can't rely on a lot of the static data. You need real-time analysis to actually tune an app, tune the network, get your network performance straight, optimize it. Emphasize effective over absolute. Implement management solutions that resolve your most common, most expensive problems most quickly. I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. Does that make sense? I mean, you guys awake? Honestly? I can break out the chicken suit. I got a chicken suit in the car. I can break out the chicken suit. But like I said, I know it's dry. I know it is. But you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised how many large banks, large energy firms, internet ISPs you walk into, and they're not monitoring most of their network. Honestly, I've worked at some of them. I won't say it because one of them I worked with might be here. But I've worked at some of them. They're not monitoring. They don't have it. They're doing, I know a bank, I'm not going to say which one, they're using Nagios to monitor their network. Nagios is great, you know, but then they say, oh man, we need something better than Nagios. So they put Groundworks. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Groundworks. That rides on top of Nagios. Anybody? So it's kind of a hodgepodge way. It's good for small to medium, but for enterprise and a bank that has regulatory constraints and responsibilities, that doesn't fly. Focus on application performance after fundamental networking performance aspects have been addressed. Use methodologies and techniques that fit your network and needs, not the other way around. The approach to this might be laid out in 2 steps. So I have 2 steps down here. He's doing to me what I used to do to him in class. I only fell asleep twice in your class, by the way. Only twice. You guys see him? You see him? No, but like I said, I know it's dry, but this is real important stuff. I know your students are here. How many times have you fallen asleep in this class? I'll ask you. Okay, but this is good. This is good stuff. Honestly, this is good stuff. It's dry, but it's important. It's really important. I laid out two steps, possibly that we can take approach to this. Continuous monitoring of performance, not just availability. As an essential point, ideally at layer 3 or if you got at layer 4. The demarcation point at a minimum. You can separate the performance issues from application ones quickly. That's apps are huge these days. Everything is an app. We're like a service industry now. IT is. What do they say is consumerized? Is that the term they use? Consumerized IT now? This has to be end-to-end along all critical paths and most others of interest with constant updating. I went to a place that had a 7-year Vizio, a 7-year-old Vizio. It was 7 years old. I am not kidding. It was 7 years old, and they had changed the network like 3 or 4 times. They had upgraded, they had changed it and went to MPLS. And when I pulled the Vizio, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, this doesn't match. Where do I find the updated one? They were like, oh, you got to update that one. I'm like, when was this one last updated? He was like, well, Charles was last here, oh, God. Seriously, I'm not kidding. This is what happened to me. He's like, oh, man. And he turned to the other guy. He's like, when was Charles last here? He's like, oh, man, I don't know, like 7 years ago he did that? And he was like, I'm like, so what do you want me to update? You want me to just do a new one? You want me to just go do a new one? They were like, yeah. And they had a monitoring system. This is the thing. They had a monitoring system. in place, but they hadn't updated it. They hadn't updated anything. So updating it, constant updating and constant monitoring and management of the monitoring system has to be done. Rapid response to performance problems. A lot of them slip through the cracks. If you're not monitoring your network, how are you going to know how it's performing? As soon as when you take your car to the mechanic, they put it on the machine. They do a diagnostic. When you go to the hospital, they hook you up to some things. They take tests. They put you on a diagnostic machine. It's the same thing with a network. You want to know what's going on, what's slipping through the cracks. Is there something I can catch now that'll keep me from really going into some pain later? That requires real-time measurement, assessment, problem diagnosis, capability that delivers quickly without pre-deployed infrastructure and can be used remotely. So it's better to start, like I have noted here, it's better to start with identifying the needs and check if the solution addresses those than, focusing on the list of features that you'd wish to see in a NMS. A lot of people, they just look at one and they say, oh, what does it do? Oh, it does that, does this. Oh, that's great. Has a lot of bells and whistles. You go install it, and guess what? You needed 2 bells and no whistle. But now you got a whistle. It doesn't work. It didn't work for you. But you just looked at the features and you just said, hey, that's great. I want to use it. How am I on time? Looks like I'm over time. So that's the end of part 1. It looks like I'm out of time. And we'll go to part 2 next. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Anybody awake? Do I need to start? Yes, sir.
Is Mandiant, is that like an intrusion detection or a network monitoring?
Mandiant?
Yeah. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. I've never heard of that one. That's the product or the name of the company?
I think it's both. Yeah.
It's both?
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of that. There's so many out there. I've used HP tipping points, Snort for IDS and IPS. I've used HP OpenView for monitoring, Nagios, NetCool, and some other things. So that one I've never heard of, honestly. I'll look it up if you want me to. I'll see if I can find out anything about it. So I guess we go to a break right now. Is it 7? Okay, I guess we go to a break and we come back at 7:20. Last presentation, we talked about, network monitoring, why, what do you need, why have it. We actually have a platform that we offer service off of that we do network monitoring. And all of that is leading up to this, to demo to you tonight about our service, what it's going to do. Like I said, we offer a network monitoring service. We're located in DC 74. That's where we met Nate. We're in their data centers. They have one here, and I think the other one's in DC. Great place, by the way. All our customers really share these goals right here. We put together this because we wanted to see if everybody agreed on this or came to a consensus on these 4 things being 4 things you look at when you want to look at a good network monitoring system. You want to, number 1, avoid outages and maintain consistent service delivery. Honestly, when you look at a network monitoring system, that's mainly what you want to do. That is the number 1 thing you want to do. improve IT efficiency, and reduce tool sprawl. How many people work here in an environment that they got a tool for everything, a tool for a tool? I mean, they got this, they got that, and it's just too much. These days, all these applications, these converged IP networks, if you have too many tools, too many things to try to monitor and manage your network, it's going to be hard for you to administer these networks, really, and do the work on them. Mitigate risk from change. Those of you in banks, Duke Energy, Bank of America, brokerage firms, any financial energy, anything that's dealing with any regulatory or issues or anything. Be more agile and responsive. So we figured these 4 things here would be really the core 4 things that a lot of customers share that they're looking for when they look for a good monitoring service or platform. One product, pre-integrated. Our product comes pre-integrated with just about, I'm not going to say everything, but it comes pre-integrated with a lot of common everyday use, multi-platform usage things, right? That you don't have to go and get a snap-in or a module or compile a MIB or anything like that. It comes pre-integrated. Cloud resources, virtualized resources, physical IT resources, physical plant and environmental, assets and configurations, faults and events, automation, ticketing, UC and video conferencing, and applications. It'll monitor all of that. Every last bit of it, it will monitor. So there's really, it's taking that whole idea of server admin group they're using SCCM, and the network group is using Nagios with Groundworks, and desktop may be using same thing, SCCM or something, or some ping program, ping up or something like that. This takes all of that and puts it all together. What about the application group? If the application group is wanting to optimize their application, I'm sure that most of them have a different tool that they're using to monitor the application. Cloud resources. A lot of that stuff is already pre-populated in here. One code, one UI, one database. So we're able to, this is just a snapshot of what we're able to monitor that comes pre-integrated in our service off of our platform. I broke it out so you can see the cloud, the apps, the virtualization technologies, the systems, the network, and the physical. I can go through a few of them, or if you want to just kind of scan over and look, but in the cloud, one of the most popular ones, Amazon Web Services. You got Rackspace, Grid, Cloud Kick rather. The SharePoint, the SQL, Exchange, all the apps. Now, mind you, everything you see here is already pre-built in. There is no module to go grab, no snap-in, nothing for to be sold extra to download, and now you can monitor your Exchange server. There's nothing. All of this comes pre-built in. If you want to monitor a Cisco router, and you go monitor that Cisco router, and next week you go buy a server and build an Exchange server, you can go monitor your Exchange server. The Exchange plug-in is built in. If you want to monitor your APC, all your APCs at the bottom of all your racks, it's pre-built in. No matter what your infrastructure and application mix is, we can monitor it and enable you to deliver all the services from it. Are there any questions or anything? None? Yes, sir.
How are you monitoring things for physical, like as far as like lever use?
Those typically come with like an SNMP card in them. You can do the set, get, and the trap. If it's, whatever you want to do with it. Whatever it reports, we can present. If it doesn't, then as long as it's running SNMP, we can customize it. If there's something that's not monitorable, or you haven't found a way to get it monitored, we can customize it possibly and get it monitored. It's really that flexible. It doesn't take that much either. Anybody else?
How do you keep up with all the updates to all the products, all the new releases?
Well, we have when we come out with a new patch, when we patch everything, it updates everything as they come out and update it. There's a repository that everything gets pushed to. Cornell and the SE handle that actually. And once everything is built and packaged, it gets patched up to the system and updated every time. So if Exchange has a new feature that they put in for Exchange servers offering, but you're monitoring the current Exchange environment that doesn't have that, have that snap in already, but you've already installed it, but you can't see it being monitored. That update, that roll-up, actually helps update the system. Does that answer your question? This is our system. This is a snapshot of some of our areas or where we're monitoring from. This is a real screen snapshot. And I just took one and overlaid a dashboard right there. You gain visibility and control. I mean, ultimately, when we talked about network monitoring earlier, what do you want? You want to monitor, you want to make sure you maintain a consistent state. Well, most places are geo-dispersed out, and you may not be able to see everything over there. But with this one, our service, you're able to see. If you see, it's hard to see on this screen, but I can't see it from here. There's a map, and that's the Atlanta network, and that's being monitored. And it's also monitoring a data center down in Florida. So, I mean, this map is presented to you the same way you see it here. It's interactive. You can mouse over, click, and get any metrics on anything and drill down into those sites and see everything. You can be alerted to customer issues and see all the contextual data at the same time to speed any type of response that you may need. I'm just going to read you the notes I put in here. So I have in here, I know about it, but I can't remember everything. Intelligent filtering, deduplication, auto-clearing means alert storms are avoided and important alerts are not missed. NOC staff have more contextual information in one place. They don't need to correlate data from multiple tools. You know, the old swivel chair thing, it's going back and forth, and they don't need to do that. So they can be more effective in identifying and isolating problems, customer incidents, when customer incidents occur. You can create role-specific views. An example given is view high-level status of multiple clients in one screen. And that's the screenshot right there at the bottom right. All of that does what? All of that does what? You get to manage your IT services with some level of confidence now. You don't have to walk in every morning and feel like what we said at the beginning. You're walking into something you're going to get cross-examined on. Why is it down? When did it go down? How did it go down? Why don't you know it's down? I heard some laughs. You know it's true. How come you don't know? Everybody else knows. How come you don't? Well, I didn't get an email. That's not good enough now. Nowadays, it's just not. It used to be a while back, but it's not good enough now. So, business services catalog, you can build that out. Website, CRM, email, service desk, unified communications, app development platform, video collaboration, etc. Ease of use, all of this is what it does for you. Ease of use, low TCO, multi-tenancy. With that, if you have a server team, you have a network team, you have a network security team, and you might have an InfoSec team, all of them could look through one pane of glass and see the same thing. You know, you may not want the network team seeing the servers. Fine. It's multi-tenant, right? The server guys see it, but if the network guys see some funny business going on the port, some flapping, some jitter, whatever they see, then they can click on that port and say, oh man, server A, B, and C are off that port. Generate a ticket right there off of it and send it over to the server team. When they get the ticket, the device icon itself is already in it with all the information, and they can just go look at it and see. And if it's an issue where they have to RDP, SSH, X Windows, if anybody still does that or anything, then they can go in and remediate at that point. Enterprises are being required to act more like internal service providers these days. That's just the reality. Excuse me, go ahead.
I was just curious, so with this tool, certain thresholds are met, does it then do email out, text out,
Email.
automation of creation of ticket or something?
There's a ticketing system built into it. And there's a workflow. You can actually build out forms in the software itself. So yes, it'll alert you on email, text. We're trying to work in with some programs to build in where it may send out a call. Which one of you guys want the system calling you at your house? We're going to make that happen just for you. No, but I'm just saying, you know, some people want that. Honestly, some people want that. You know, some people would rather have something like that. I wouldn't. I'd rather not have the email or the text or nothing. But we all know we can't, in our field, we don't live like that. So, as I was saying earlier, enterprises are being required to act more like internal service providers by delivering a catalog of services from which their users can choose.
Does this integrate with Remedy or Support Magic? You said it had its own ticketing system.
It has its own ticketing system, but you can actually integrate some pieces of it where an alert will be generated. And if you have it's BMC Remedy, right? Is that what it's called? BMC Remedy? I know in BMC Remedy you can actually program it to say if this email comes in with this, and this format, start and create this ticket. So it'll send and ship the ticket off to the email, alert it, send the ticket to BMC. And as far as the programming integration, I'm not a programmer, but I do have one guy and another guy that work with me. I can actually have them call you if you really want to know. They can
Use like REST or
API REST, yeah.
or something to move data around.
I know on the VMware it does like an API scrape of vCenter, you know, and that's how it gets its information. You give it a login, the password, it does an API scrape and pulls that data back. With the ticketing portion, there's so many facets of this. With the ticketing portion, I'm just not as versed with that as I am with the other parts. And I can actually have them call you if you want to know for sure. So to manage these various services efficiently and consistently requires a management solution that scales with their needs and is easily used by multiple functional silos, all involved in service delivery. I hate the word silos, but that's just, you know, some places are siloed real. In higher ed, I find it a lot, honestly. Higher ed is highly siloed. But you know what? If that's the culture, and they're on various platforms and they're not sharing the information and the data, then that's a problem. That's actually a security issue in itself. Divide and conquer at that point, you know. But if you have them all on the same platform, all looking through the same pane of glass, they can actually integrate a little bit better and work a lot better. So we deploy an easily we deploy this management solution, this monitoring solution, this platform. We do it very easily and quickly, automating many of the often manual discovery tasks to deliver rapid time to value. It's a fully multi-tenant architecture that enables most IT organizations that have it, their staff to monitor and manage workloads for different business units easily and create a business unit specific user portal. So if you have another business unit like the applications group, guys, you can have a portal specifically for them. I know in higher ed, a lot of the colleges have their own logo or something, you know, and it could be specific to that college. When they log in, a lot of them have their servers inside their college, and they may be using the central IT basically like an ISP. And if you got MPLS, it's just a CEP connection. They're just handing off internet to them. That's it. But, you know, you can also fit that to them. Each one. It could be different. As soon as they log in or bring it up, they look at their interface. When necessary, it provides built-in disaster recovery and failover capabilities. And there's no cost for that. It's just everything is just shoved in there, and you just go use it. You may not use everything, but it's there if you want it. This may be towards something that you may want. It looks like one of the programmers put that in there. Its rich web services-based API enables two-way integration with any web-based commercial or homegrown application. I didn't see that earlier. Looks like somebody stuck that in there. You have a puzzled look on your face. This is the end of the slideshow, but I'm going to go through this and I did some other screen prints that I want to show you. So, efficiency, proactive monitoring and management, collaboration between IT functions, transparency to the end user and constituents, ability to support ever-changing demands, and the cost drives down the cost. You don't have to buy HP. You got to buy a module for. If you want it, you got to go buy it. Certain things, but I mean, it's a good product. But we just shoved everything in here. Time to support new infrastructure and applications. Problem. I forgot what that acronym stands for. There you go. Number of tools and software licenses, training and specialization. I mean, it drives all of that down. It allows you to really centralize everything and make everything seem like every business unit feel like they have their own platform. They can truly tailor it to themselves, however they want it to look. And then if you're the central IT organization, you have your NOC view, you have your whatever view, and everything up on the screen. Any questions? I have some screen prints I want to share with you, and I wanted to log into the demo real quick. Yes?
What do you do for network elements that are legacy, 20, 30-year-old stuff? You can't monitor it, you can't access it.
No. If it's layer 3, you can ping it, you know. And that's typically, at that point, what we do, because a lot of old legacy stuff, they don't support SNMP, V2C, or V3, or they don't support it at all, some of them. You can just ping it. And that's what we do. You can ping it and just, that's it. I mean, and that's not just ours. It's a lot of people's. If it's old, it's just no support for it anymore. It's just really that old. So. But what we can do, we can go discover it, and like I said, ping it. And if it's something that you really want to monitor, if it has some type of SSH or HTTPS interface on it, we can try to do a get from that or log into it and try to get what we need from it. Does that answer your question? You know, it's a good application, it's a good platform, but let's just be honest, it's not the holy grail of everything, but it will do mostly everything you need to get done in the IT infrastructure. I was going to pull up some slides, some screen prints here. I did some screen prints of some more screen prints of some of the interface. So, did I lose signal? Okay. Okay. So honestly, what do you guys think about it? Be honest about it. I like good feedback while he's looking at that. What do you think about it? Good, bad, indifferent?
Can you track user usage?
You could.
One of the challenges we had at Bell South was billing for network elements.
Yes.
And you don't want to be the last, well, you don't want to be the next project
Okay.
that doesn't have a port over fiber switch, and you find out you got to spend $100,000 for a fiber switch.
It's odd you ask me about that because within the platform, you can do chargeback. And it does allow you to build a services catalog, and you put an SLA on the port or something, and you attach that service to it. Say, if you're in higher ed, I keep using higher ed because higher ed is a beast of its own. You have the central IT, and a lot of the times you have the various colleges who have their own IT staff in higher ed. So I like to use this because higher ed, a lot of higher ed don't do chargeback. They assume the cost for everything, most of the stuff that a lot of the colleges want to do. They may be funded for a new server and everything, but the network team has to provision a port. They got to use bandwidth. And if you want to charge that back to them, this allows you to do that by allowing you to build that service catalog in there and set the price of whatever you agree with them on, and it tracks and monitors that. Yes, it definitely does that. I'm going to take a seat here, and so, oh wow, that didn't come out too great. But what you're looking at here, you can't see it that well. Maybe the picture's a little skewed. On my Mac, it looks great, by the way. Where'd he go? On my Mac is awesome. But this is an asset manager view, basically, of all the assets that we have in our system that we use for demo purposes, basically. And right here is one of go ahead.
With that you had up there, does that push to a syslog server and such too? Some of your alarms that may have transpired a week ago, they push into a syslog
No. It's maintaining everything in its own database. And it's using SNMP. It's getting all the information. And you can syslog to it to do some metrics, reporting and gathering, but ultimately it gets everything it can get from SNMP. Like an ASA, it'll send you everything SNMP that you can basically get from syslog as well. You know. So let's go back to the other one. That's an asset maintenance and service record in there. Somebody say? So if you can see, not too well, but let me see if I can shrink it
I
a little.
apologize. Just having to use my laptop because I ran out to Office Depot, but we couldn't find a nice dongle to get this supported our video side from the Mac aspect. So he's using my second tier Dell right now.
His non-Apple machine. I'm going to move this, let's see, I'm going to just bring this back down. Yeah. If you can see right here, these are actually customized. This comes pre-populated, well, pre-designed actually. But you can customize that form in here. The application knows where to put the data based on how you customize. It already knows. So you don't have to write a query or a script for anything. It just knows you take this, put it over here. It knows when it looks and sees that device that it's monitoring, send that information via SNMP. Then it knows to take that information and put it where it needs to go. So you have your vendor, and also you build out your asset record as well. It's just going to have some stuff it gets from the device automatically, some stuff. Your vendor, your purchase information, expense, depreciation, any vital service information. I'm going to look at it on here. Warranty and policy here. Policy dates, expense, service policy, policy dates, expense. And if you look at the tabs, I don't know if you can see them well, we're in the maintenance tab. So I'm going to go next. And this is the properties tab, the asset properties. And I'm not going to go through all the asset management. It does asset management. However you want to customize it and make it do, you can do. Yes, sir.
You mentioned WMI and SNMP capabilities. Does it also have flow collection and analysis?
Like NetFlow 9?
Yeah.
Not currently, no. We don't consume NetFlow 9 or 5 for that reason. Not yet, but it's actually they're looking at it. This here, it's just not coming out great on this non-Mac. It's okay. I appreciate it. This here actually is a Cisco UCS box with a lot of blades in it. But if you look here, you have orange and yellow and orange and yellow, but he's green, right? Well, he's green, but if you look at the link between them, he's starting off green, but it's starting to turn. It's telling you that it's having some issue between that chassis and this blade here, this backplane here, I think it is. I can barely see that as well on here. So basically, it trees everything out for you. If you have a bladed system like that, it'll go ahead and make the connections for you, like most of them do, and create a topology for you. But it also lets you see the link, the health degradation through the links between it. So it lets you know that it's having some issues between here and here, but this one, even though these are green, still having some issues. Yellow, green here, but it degrades here. So this is where the problem is, it's telling you. And you click on it and you drill down into it, and you look at the events and the alerts on it, whatever it's sending you, and you go from there. So I got a better one. Okay, this is the events tab. Everything's color coded, obviously. It's just a screenshot. Obviously, red is good. I'm just joking. Caught you sleeping. Obviously, red is bad. I mean, that's what you want. You want it to pop out at you. You knew it. I don't even have to know that you knew it, but you knew it when you saw it, that red item on there was bad. And it needed to be looked at. And that's what you want. I mean, a lot of the events that you're going to be dealing with in this system are going to have that, like a lot of them, that color coding. But they're going to really pop out at you. All of this is interactive, where you barely can see the device over here in the little icons. Where you see the red tag, right there, barely. I know you can barely see that, I'm sorry. But that's an asset tag on that. You can click the asset tag and pull up the asset record on that if you want to see that. In the event management system, on the alert, and see where it's at, what rack, who owns it, if you got a business owner, all those things.
Going back to the legacy portion of the desktop, when you was asking,
Yes.
at the spring here, we can see the ping.
Yes, if you have a legacy device, the gentleman, maybe he's gone. I didn't see him. Oh, there he is. If you have a legacy device, I mean, just like any other monitoring system, this will actually, you can be alerted when the ping is up or down. But, aside from that, it'll trend and see how many times this has happened, what times a day, You know, and it'll also let you look at the asset records or anything else you can get from that device. So whatever you can get from it or you put into it, it'll let you see with a legacy device. Legacy, it's always difficult, right? I mean, that's just the nature of it. It's just difficult. Can you see that one better? Anybody? So this here is an exchange monitoring dashboard I put together. I put this together. You can move and match whatever you want to do, put anything that you're monitoring on the exchange and create your own, right? So I put this together. And what you have here is the exchange service itself right here. Here, and it's hard for me to see as well on here. Here's the availability. Huh? Oh, I might have to get my Mac. So, here's the health of the service. The risk level. It does a risk assessment based on what it sees. And the availability. And everybody's exchange network looks like that, right? Of course. If you guys don't mind me just zooming in and doing this, I'm going to do it like this because it's kind of hard for me to see as well. Here, exchange delivery time, health, and max CPU last 12 hours. If you notice up here, you got 3 hours beside that going to your left as well. You have 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, on up to 90 days. However long you're keeping the data, 180 days, if you want to trend and look at it. And average time, delivery time here. And on the side, it's going to give you any alerts associated with that. Any alerts associated with that. However you want to configure this console, this dashboard, is how you do it. Here I have exchange messages delivered in the last 12 hours. Right here. This looks like around 60-something messages. Right there. It's self-explainable, right? Exchange availability, service availability, and availability last 12 hours. As you can see, it took a dive here, took a dive there and there at these times. Now, this is a screenshot, but know this. When you're moving the mouse in the application, everything's interactive. Information just pops up for you. Wherever you put it, it's time to go. Was that the time to go horn? You trying to tell me something? I hear you. But, you know, everything is interactive. You hover over something, you don't really have to click on it unless you want to. It'll tell you. You click on it for in-depth information or knowledge or whatever you want to do. This is a global NOC view that I had built up. You can have the NOC view built out however you want it. But these are actual either sites or a device here or there that I can pull in and monitor. And it'll tell you exactly where it's at by the IP, obviously. You have, let me zoom in here. Right here, notice the red. The HQ data center and the Acme data center, the Acme are having some issues. Device health, all the devices. The little wrench right there is where you go into the configuration mode of the device, how you want to monitor it, what is it doing, if you want to change anything, the way it's being polled or anything you want to. The little bar graph there is if you want to see like performance reports and latency reports, any reports you want to see. You just click those and it pulls it up. So let's go on that. You guys may love this one. Anybody here VMware guys? VMware? Okay. Not a lot of you. This is our VMware capacity dashboard we have built up. I'm going to zoom in. Can you see that? I'm going to zoom in So this is availability of the VM host here. Right here, the health of the VM host, not looking too good. And the risk of the VM host, not looking great. Here, you have multiple graphs. Top in-host availability. And I'm sure that makes sense to you, right? VMware guys, anybody? So this, and CPU average. Now, mind you, you can customize this. It's doing an API scrape of vCenter. So you can customize this to pull back whatever you want and present it on whatever dashboard that you want. We go to the next one. Here's another VMware host capacity dashboard. There's another one I did. I'm going to zoom in. Host CPU analysis. Current status, host CPU, not looking good. I'm sure yours look a lot better than this. Go ahead.
Real quick, now, using this as monitor software, do you see this environment where this is installed on multiple stations and you have one maybe presented on the screen like almost a knock environment? Or are you really just taking one session here and somebody sees an alarm and they drill down from there?
The good thing about this is it's one session, and you can click on something and pop it out and put it in kiosk view, drag it, and drop it on a monitor. Go into another one, pop it out, put it on kiosk view, or just leave it, drag it, drop it to a monitor. You know, you don't have to have multiple machines for this, no. And last, top-end memory usage, last 12 hours. So it'll give you whatever it gets from vCenter, basically, it does API scraping and bring it back to you. Now, that's hard to see, but that's a VMware topology. That's a host at the top. And it's hard to see on here. So you got your data stores over here. It's monitoring. It sees your data stores, sees the folder that your data stores are in. Data center. I mean, I can go through it, but a lot of it's self-explanatory, you know. Go ahead.
When you're putting it together for a customer, are you putting together that hierarchy?
No, it builds it out itself. It looks at the host, all the VMs, vSwitch, all that stuff, and it goes through and builds it out itself. So that's it. And I was going to log into the demo if you guys want to see it, but if you don't, we can one-off it if you want. People got to go because it's late.
Well, actually, I think we got time.
Anybody? Yes, sir.
You do remote control too, right?
Remote control
Right.
of...
But like in case of disaster recovery, can you switch
Can we switch...
to a redundant network?
Yes. For our environment, are we redundant? Yes. We have two ISPs that we're peering through right there, and we're redundant on the hardware.
Will your system do disaster recovery simulation? See if it carries the load?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure, but I think the sales engineer can definitely answer that question. If I can get you his information, you can give him a call. I would really have to defer that to him. He does this all day, every day. He breathes it. But I'll get your information if you like, and he can sit down and he'll answer everything for you. You can go as technical as you want with him on this stuff. So, are we on the internet?
Yeah.
Haven't used Internet Explorer in so long. I'm kind of scared to use the demo with Internet Explorer. I don't know. Now the cert on here, I know the cert is not right, but this isn't the demo that you saw. I'm not logging into that one. I'm logging into one that he's building. He's actually building up this weekend here in this data center. So it's not fully populated with a bunch of the stuff that you saw from the other screenshots, but it's populated enough that you can get the gist of things, and the cert's not on there yet. He actually told me not to do this, not to do the live. He said, don't do that. He said, because what if they're on dial-up? He said, you're going to make yourself look bad. I don't know if, am I in like some presentation mode or something on here? It's in some funky mode on here. How do you get it out of this?
Which one are you, what are you used to seeing?
It's like,
It's going to make it a little larger because you're trying to present it on the screen, I imagine. That's why it's closed.
you see it like that?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I need to close this.
It's doing that because of the resolution of what you have available.
Okay. That's okay. Can we
So it
shrink?
is going to blow it up.
Can we shrink that down? As you see, as soon as we log in, there's something failed. This is a demo, so I'm trying to scroll over that way, but I don't see a scroll bar right there. Can we change the can I change the resolution on your laptop real quick? Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. That's too small. Well, we're going to have to work with this. As you can see, let me see if I can go over. If we click this, it tells us 1 week, 4 hours, 46 seconds. It gives us a bunch of stuff, a bunch of information on this this one event. And that's a typical event. When you click on it, this is what you'll get. It has an Actions tab. You can actually align it with an event, edit the event policy that's aligned with. You can view the device summary. So you're wondering what device it's on. It's on this device here, which looks like a VM that's being built. So do I close out that thing? But I want to go to the Views tab. We got some DC74 stuff on our demo network, so I'm not going to click that. So as you see, as I hover over the stuff, it gives you an IP. It'll pop out a little window that gives you information. I'm going to find a Windows box here for you. And it gives you all the CPU, memory swap, and C drive, everything you need in there. And you can also do a port scan on it from right here, actually. So if you have somebody build a server and stick it up there to be monitored, and you want to make sure only SSH is open on it, then it's up there and you're monitoring it, do a port scan on it. Well, that has a lot of ports open on it. And it pulled back the GoDaddy cert on that box as well. If I click on that, you can't see it very well from there, but it will give you the information on the GoDaddy server. Also, any interfaces. If I hover over one, it gives me the information, but if I click it, it gives me information on it. There's nothing on that NIC, so it's not going to report anything. So I'll go to the firewall. Let's go to the Cisco demo firewall we have in here and go to the interfaces, the ASA. Notice the green and blue. Obviously, green is on, red is off. It'll tell you if it's been admin down if you hover over it. Admin status up. With this one, this one's up. So we'll click on this one. Notice how I hover over it and move the mouse. At any point I can click and pull back more data. Looks like it's jumbled up down here for some. Okay, there we go. I can do a port scan on that as well. And it looks like only SNMP is open on that thing because it's monitoring it. So, I mean, I can keep going. I just wanted to give you an overview. Here's some logs from the ASA. Well, that it's how it's been interacting with the ASA. And go back to the summary. And it gives you all the information there. If you have any questions, I'll take your questions. I don't want to take too long, but with any application, you can keep going down the rabbit hole. Anybody? Did you have a question? Anybody? For the gentleman who asked about billing. It was you, okay. So here, let me get in here. IT services. Right here, here's your IT service manager and any service dashboard that you have. SLA definitions. You have your asset manager. But you can also do, you can build out the service in the service catalog of what you're offering to another department, put it in there, and monitor their bandwidth. They get 50 meg a month or whatever. Under business services, we have bandwidth billing right there. Distribution list, product catalog, you can build out your own product catalog in here. Any product subscriptions, so for higher ed, any colleges that you have subscribing for whatever length of time, service notifiers, and service usage. This one's not populated because this one's being built out, but as you can see, you can have all of that in there if you like. And for tickets, this is a ticketing dashboard. You can customize the view if you like, but typically a typical ticket will have everything you need right there. And I'm going to acknowledge one. Let me pick another one. Let's see. I got a couple of people here. So as you can see, it's open, ticket state, status open, working, and assigned user. I put a user in there. And whatever source you got it from. Email, external, internal, phone. And you can build these out. Category, backup, billing, messaging and email. Let's say accounting. And your severity, and you save it. And then you can close it if you like, but I'm just going to leave it open. And it also has the audit log for everything, who's been doing what you did. It keeps a track of all of that stuff on the ticket. So that's a cute kid. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us how you got started, how you developed it, how much time went into it, who all was involved?
Well, I was actually working at Peak 10 a few years ago. Well, a lot of years ago. And this small company came in and they had this little product which was this, very little, and nobody really used it at the time. And they wanted to approach Peak 10 with monitoring their data centers. Me and another gentleman were tasked to handle some of that project, and then we got tasked to handle more of that project and interface with the vendor more. And one of them, he now works for them now. But we kept the relationship going, and they actually needed some network help, and I provided them some network help and consulting. And at the time, it was very young, and they knew everything about monitoring servers and some things about monitoring network devices. They didn't have a lot of the information that a network analyst, engineer, or NOC person would want to see. They wanted to see more than what they had. So I started talking with them and helping them develop their product with other guys, and just maintain that relationship, and ended up just pulling their product with me one day and just shooting off and doing it. That's pretty much how I got started. Nothing fancy happened. It was just a good working relationship. We worked well together. I helped them out. They helped me out. I have access to a lot of the developers and resources, and they're able to customize just about anything that I ask them to customize. I actually have one developer working with me, though, so. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Who do you hear most of?
You know, it's for this service here. I would have to say who are my biggest competitors, or competitors for this service or that application. I would say HP OpenView. I would say HP OpenView and HP OpenView and NetCool. Those guys. I mean, I really don't look at the. Of course, you have to look at your competitors, but those are my biggest ones, really. You know, everywhere I go, and I tell you what, at Nagios, it's like, because it's so custom. It's like it's so customizable, but it's hard to manage. That's my biggest. That's one of my other biggest ones as well. Everywhere I go, they have Nagios and they have some script repository, and Joe and Jill left, and nobody knows anything about the scripts now at this point. So with this, you don't have to worry about Joe and Jill leaving and some scripts you don't know anything about, because you know everything's integrated in here. So those are my biggest competitors with this thing. Everywhere I go, they either have HP OpenView or Nagios or NetCool. I've been coming up against a lot of NetCool lately. So, yes, sir.
How does it work? Do you bring in an appliance of some type into the customer that uses your service, or does all this monitoring go across a VPN into your network and then they access the data? Or
No.
a secure web portal? Or how does it work?
There is a secure web portal, but how it happens is we can either put the appliance on your network as a VM or a physical appliance, a collector. And with most things, you have to worry about poking holes in your firewall and firewall rules. And if you have multiple firewalls, then you got to worry about this device getting out, or creating a site-to-site tunnel, an IPsec tunnel. Well, with this one, you just do it communicates back through the web to our data center from the collector on a common port, I think 7700. It's an encrypted channel, and that's it. So all your devices, they just collect to it. They just send to it. It collects it and sends it out to the data center. And your web portal is actually coming from the data center. All right. Thanks, guys.